Assalamu alaikum. This is Rokia Samia welcoming you all to the English news from BTV Chattogram. Let's begin with the headlines. Chief Advisor Professor Muhammad Yunus urges countrymen to resist re-emergence of autocracy again. First anniversary of the month of July uprising today. ICT set next Monday for hearing to form charge against Sheikh Hasina for crimes against humanity during July-August mass uprising. Tobacco cultivation on banks of Halda River must be stopped, says Fisheries Advisor Farida Akhtar. Israel bombs Gaza, 8 sites, cafe and school, killing 95 Palestinians. And Al Hilal and Fluminense secured quarter-final spot at FIFA Club World Cup, eliminating Man City and Inter Milan. Viewers, those were the headlines. Now moving on to the details. Chief Advisor Professor Muhammad Yunus today urged the country's people to the July uprising every year to resist re-emergence of autocracy. He made the call while inaugurating a month-long program at his office commemorating the July uprising. On the occasion, Chief Advisor Professor Yunus unveiled the QR code of the program. Mentioning that today is a glorious moment in the history, the Chief Advisor said a year ago, in this July, the movement that the students started gave the people a taste of freedom by creating an unprecedented mass uprising. Professor Yunus, the immediate target of the mass uprising was fulfilled, but there was a great dream behind it, to reconstruct a new state system and build a new Bangladesh.
তাৎক্ষণিক যেটা টার্গেট ছিল সেটা আমরা অর্জন করেছি, কিন্তু তার পেছনেও ছিল একটা বিরাট স্বপ্ন, নতুনভাবে রাষ্ট্র ব্যবস্থা বিনির্মাণ, নতুন বাংলাদেশ বিনির্মাণ। আমরা প্রতি বছর এই সময়কালটা উদযাপন করব, যাতে পরবর্তীতে 16 বছর আমাদের অপেক্ষা করতে না হয় আবার এই অভ্যুত্থান করার জন্য। আমরা প্রতি বছর এটা করব, যাতে কোনো স্বৈরাচারের কোনো চিহ্ন দেখা গেলে সেটা তাৎক্ষণিকভাবে আমরা বিনাশ করতে পারি। সেটার জন্য এটা অত্যন্ত গুরুত্বপূর্ণ। স্বৈরাচারের প্রথম পাতা মেলার আগেই যেন আমরা তাকে ধরে ফেলতে পারি, 16 বছর যেন আমাদের অপেক্ষা করতে না হয়।
The Chief Advisor said the main goal of the program is to make the people aware of their democratic rights, demand political accountability, and not to miss this opportunity for reforms obtained at the cost of blood. He called upon all to make this July the month of mass awakening and unity.
ঐক্য তৈরি হয়েছিল, আমরা চাই এই জুলাই এসে ঐক্য আবার সুসংহত হোক। আমাদের এই কর্মসূচির মূল লক্ষ্য জনগণকে গণতান্ত্রিক অধিকার সম্পর্কে সচেতন করা, রাজনৈতিক দায়বদ্ধতার দাবি জানানো এবং রক্তের বিনিময়ে পাওয়া সংস্কারের এই সুযোগকে হারিয়ে না ফেলা। আমাদের সামনের পথ অনেক কঠিন, কিন্তু মস্ত বড় সম্ভাবনাও আছে। ইতিহাস সাক্ষ্য দেয়, জনগণ যখন জেগে ওঠে তখন কোনো শক্তি তাকে রুখে দিতে পারে না। সে বিশ্বাস নিয়ে আমি আজ আপনাদের আহ্বান জানাই, আসুন এই জুলাই মাসকে পরিণত করি গণজাগরণের মাসে, ঐক্যের মাসে। এই অনুষ্ঠানমালার মাধ্যমে জুলাই আগস্ট মাস জুড়ে আমরা গত বছরের প্রতিটি দিনকে আবার পুনর্জীবিত করব, যে লক্ষ্যে আমাদের তরুণ ছাত্ররা, জনতা, রিক্সা চালক, শ্রমিক, কিশোররা শহীদ হয়েছিল, আহত হয়েছিল। সেই লক্ষ্য বাস্তবায়নে আমরা আবার নতুন করে শপথ নেব এই অনুষ্ঠানমালার মাধ্যমে, এবং সেটা আমরা প্রতি বছর করব। যাতে স্বৈরাচার আবার কোনো রকমের কোথাও মাথাচাড়া দিতে না পারে। জুলাই আগস্টের পুনরুত্থান কর্মসূচি সফল হোক, এর মাধ্যমে আমাদের স্বপ্ন আবার নতুন করে জেগে উঠুক, আমাদের ঐক্য আবারও সর্বমুখী হোক, অটুট হোক, এই হোক আমাদের এই অনুষ্ঠানমালার লক্ষ্য। এই লক্ষ্য সামনে রেখেই আমি জাতির পক্ষ থেকে জুলাই গণ অভ্যুত্থান পুনরুত্থান কর্মসূচির উদ্বোধন ঘোষণা করছি।
Cultural Affairs Advisor Mustafa Sarwar Farooqi conducted the function while Education Advisor Sia Rabrar also spoke. On the occasion, the Chief Advisor also handed over scholarship check to 3 national university students. The foundational period of New Bangladesh is the days of June, July, and August of the last year. This defining moment, which changed the course of Bangladesh's political landscape, has made a place in people's hearts as 36th of July. These glorious days, marked by immense sacrifice and unparalleled courage, hold immense significance for the people of this land. As the deadline passed without resolving the demand to reinstate the circular cancelling quotas, students of Dhaka University held a rally on the first day of July. A large number of students gathered in front of the Dhaka University's Central Library under the banner of the Anti-Discrimination Student Movement. From there, they marched to the Raju sculpture at TSC, where they held a rally. From the rally, students announced a boycott of all classes and exams at universities and colleges until 4th of July. The quota reform activists urged the government to meet their demands by 4th of July. The Anti-Discrimination Student Movement also announced a 3-day program. Among the scheduled programs were a mass march from the Central Library on the following day and gatherings at the Raju sculpture on Wednesday and Thursday. Students from Jagannath University, the 7 government colleges affiliated with Dhaka University, and other institutions under the National University in Dhaka were called to participate in that rally. A notable feature of the protest rally was revolutionary protest songs sung by students, which became a powerful force in the movement. Outraged students launched an online campaign around the issue. Coordinator Sarji Salam called on the public via Facebook to stand in support of the demands. He wrote, "No compromise with injustice." On 1st of July, students of Jagannath University also began their protests. At Jahangirnagar University, students gathered at the Shohid Minar and later blocked the Dhaka-Arecha highway for 10 minutes. At Raater University, students organized their program on Paris Road. Students of Bangladesh Agricultural University held human chains and protest rallies with the same demands. On that day, vernacular daily Kalbela published a report with a bold headline titled, "The Movement is Growing." On the first anniversary of the July Uprising, various political, social, and cultural organizations across the country are observing the day with different programs. To mark the anniversary, the National Citizens Party, NCP, launched the July March to Build the Nation. The program began at around 10:30 a.m. this morning with a visit to the grave of Shohid Abu Said in Zafarpara village of Pirganj, Rangpur, who was martyred during the anti-discrimination student movement. Party leaders including convener Nahid Islam, Member Secretary Akhtar Hossain, Chief Coordinator Nasiruddin Patwari, Chief Organizer Hasnat Abdullah and Sarji Salam were present. They later met with the family of Shohid Abu Said. Meanwhile, a special religious ceremony and discussion were held today at Dharmarajika Buddhist Monastery in the capital in remembrance of the martyrs of the historic July Uprising. The event was organized by the Ministry of Chittagong Hill Tracts Affairs. Advisor Shupradip Chakma was present as the chief guest. He stated that the July Uprising was a milestone in Bangladesh's struggle for self-identity, justice, and democracy. The sacrifice of the martyrs will forever inspire the nation. On the anniversary of the people's victory in the July-August historic uprising, the BNP's student wing, Jatiyotawadi Chhatrodol, organized a national anthem performance and candlelight vigil titled Shining in Light, Glorious in Memory. The program was held at the Central Shohid Minar in Dhaka in the early hours of July. BNP Senior Joint Secretary General Ruhul Kabir Rizvi, Chhatrodol President Rakibul Islam, General Secretary Nasruddin Nasir and other central leaders were present. Meanwhile, Bangladesh Jamaat-e-Islami held a prayer session for those killed and injured during the July uprising. At the event, Jamaat's Naib Amir Syed Abdullah Muhammad Tahir stated that the greatest achievement of July was the fall of an autocratic regime and the liberation of the people. Elsewhere, AB Party organized the opening ceremony of a 36-day program commemorating the July uprising at the National Press Club. Dr. Mahmoud Rahman, editor of the Daily Amar Desh, said, "In a country where young people can sacrifice their lives, fascism can never rise again." Additionally, the Vice-Chancellor of Bangladesh Medical University, Professor Dr. Shahinul Alam, inaugurated the 36th July program this morning with a rally and tree planting. In a brief discussion, he urged all concerned to take effective measures to rebuild the country with the spirit of 24. International Crimes Tribunal 1 has set next Monday as the date for the hearing on the formation of charges against former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and two others for crimes against humanity during the July-August mass uprising. A three-member tribunal headed by the tribunal's chairman, Justice Muhammad Gholam Murtuza Mojumdar, passed the order today. The other two members of the tribunal are Justice Muhammad Shafiul Alam Mahmood and Justice Mohidul Haq Enam Chaudhuri. Chief Prosecutor Muhammad Tajul Islam participated in the hearing on behalf of the prosecution against the accused, including Sheikh Hasina. The two co-accused in this case are fugitive former Home Minister Asaduzzaman Khan Kamal and former Inspector General of Police Chaudhry Abdullah Al Mamun. Abdullah Al Mamun has already been arrested. During the hearing, the Chief Prosecutor presented detailed evidence of 5 specific crimes committed by the fascist government in suppressing the logical and peaceful movement of students and the public during July-August, mentioning that deadly weapons and helicopters were used to suppress the movement. The Chief Prosecutor said that law enforcement agencies used drones to locate the protesters and then carried out brutal assaults in a planned manner. Chief Prosecutor Tajul Islam also informed the tribunal that a total of 3,05,311 rounds of bullets were used in suppressing the student-led mass uprising. Fisheries and Livestock Advisor Farid Akhtar said tobacco cultivation on the banks of the Halda River is unacceptable and must be immediately stopped. She said this while inspecting the Halda River in the morning today. The Fisheries Advisor also inspected fish breeding and management activities by Fisheries Department in the Halda River. Later, the Fisheries and Livestock Advisor held a meeting with stakeholders, including egg collectors at the Mubarak Hill Hatchery in Rauja. At that time, she emphasized the need to stop tobacco cultivation on the banks of the river to protect Halda from pollution. Chattogram Divisional Commissioner Dr. Muhammad Ziauddin presided over, among others, Director General of the Department of Fisheries Dr. Muhammad Abdul Rauf was also present. Eastern Refinery Limited, the country's only state-owned oil refinery, has refined 15.35 lakh tons of crude oil in the 2024-25 fiscal year, exceeding its annual target by 35,000 tons. The information was shared at a press conference held at Eastern Refinery Limited's head office in the city's Potenga area. Present at the briefing were ERL Board Chairman and Senior Secretary to the Ministry of Home Affairs, Nasimul Goni, Bangladesh Petroleum Corporation Chairman Aminul Hassan, and ERL Managing Director Mohammad Sharif Hasnat, among others. This is the highest amount of oil refined in a fiscal year by ERL, surpassing both its plant capacity and the previous year's total of 12.79 lakh tons. Nasimul Goni said this has been made possible through uninterrupted supply and collective effort. Now, international news. Israeli forces have bombed a cafe, a school and food distribution sites in Gaza, killing at least 95 Palestinians and attacked a hospital, wounding several more people. At least 62 of the victims of Monday's attacks were in Gaza City and the north of the territory. The figure includes 39 people who were killed in an Israeli strike on a seaside cafe, Al-Baka cafeteria in northern Gaza City. Dozens more were wounded. Among the dead was journalist Ismail Abu Hattab, as well as women and children who had gathered at the cafe. One witness said that Israeli fighter jets carried out the strike. Yahya Sharif said this place wasn't affiliated with anyone, no politics and no military association whatsoever. It was packed with people, including children, for a birthday party. The bombing flattened the cafe and left a huge crater in the ground. Also on Monday, Israeli forces carried out an airstrike on a food distribution warehouse in the Zaytun neighborhood of Gaza City, killing at least 13 people who were trying to get rations. The United States Senate has started voting on changes to President Donald Trump's mega bill on tax breaks and sweeping cuts to health care and food programs. The 940-page proposal has been met with strong criticism from the Democratic Party as well as some members of Trump's Republican Party. Senators narrowly approved the motion to start the debate, with 2 Republicans siding with 47 Democrats in voting against it and prompting criticism from the president. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office has said the bill would increase the deficit by an estimated $3.3 trillion over a decade, while 11.8 million more people in the U.S. would become uninsured by 2034 if it became law. Donald Trump's move to cut most of the U.S. funding towards foreign humanitarian aid could cause more than 14 million additional deaths by 2030. According to research published in the Lancet Medical Journal, a third of those at risk of premature deaths are children, the research finds. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said in March that President Trump's administration had canceled over 80% of all programs at the U.S. Agency for International Development, or USAID. For many low- and middle-income countries, the resulting shock would be comparable in scale to a global pandemic or a major armed conflict. David Rosella, who co-authored the Lancet report, said in a statement, "The funding cuts risk abruptly halting and even reversing 2 decades of progress in health among vulnerable populations," added Rosella, a researcher at the Barcelona Institute for Global Health. The report comes as dozens of world leaders are meeting in the Spanish city of Seville this week for the United Nations-led aid conference, the biggest one in a decade. Looking back over data from 133 nations, the team of researchers estimated that U.S. aid funding had prevented 91 million deaths in developing countries between 2001 and 2021. They also used modeling to project how funding being slashed by 83%, the figure announced by the U.S. government earlier this year, could affect death rates.